Buenas tardes. Rankia México tiene el honor de entrevistar a Nick Leeson, uno de los personajes más influyentes en la historia en el mercado de derivados. Buenas tardes, bienvenido a Rankia México.
Hi, welcome to Rankia Mexico. Well, now that you're in Mexico, what is your opinion about Mexican economy and its financial markets?
I wouldn't know too much about the Mexican economy. I mean, lots of Latin American economies do attract a lot of attention at the moment because they always, from time to time, they experience difficulties. So, and that's true of any economy. I mean, you've had a global financial collapse around the world, so people will encounter problems from time to time, but it comes down to some simple things about having systems and controls, good systems and controls in place to make sure that everything's kept safe. But also, it's very important to have good caliber of people, making sure that those controls and systems are enforced as well. So, I wouldn't have direct experience of the Mexican economy, but it's the same message everywhere in the world. If you become complacent and you aren't making sure that you do things correctly, then financial markets can cause you problems. They can be very dangerous. They have great benefits and great uses, but if they're not controlled correctly, then they can cause problems.
Okay. So do you think that Mexico might be a good place to invest?
Without any direct experience of Mexico per se, it's difficult to say. Typically, if it was me, I would be looking towards the more developed economies and the more developed markets because they're further along in the process of making sure that investments are as safe as they possibly can be. But I think anywhere where markets are transparent and everything is traded on an exchange and you can see the liquidity and you can see the size of the business that's being transacted, then that's where people should be making their investments. As soon as something is off exchange or it's being traded in a dark pool, that presents a lot of difficulties where maybe the control or the regulation of those markets isn't as tight as it should be. So, I think any market should be looking for transparency.
What are your thoughts on Warren Buffett's opinion referring to derivatives as weapons of mass destruction?
They can be if they're not controlled, but derivatives are a way to hedge your exposure to a market. So they have great uses as well. It's just when they're used incorrectly. My trading years ago was very speculative. It wasn't hedging, and I assumed or amounted a position that just became, it was risking many times the capital base of the bank, and therefore it became a weapon of mass destruction. But at the same time, there's a lot of businesses and a lot of banks and countries that are using derivatives correctly, and they reduce your exposure, and they mean that you can, people will have different opinions on the leverage that futures and options will give to you. But again, if they're used intelligently and used well and the controls are good, then there's nothing to be worried about. But if you have somebody who's errant or rogue like me all those years ago, then it is very dangerous.
What is your vision for the future of the derivatives market?
Probably you can ask somebody else that. But look, I mean, the derivatives market will continue to change and adapt to things that happen around the world of finance. It's very good at doing that. The financial markets are, they're based on speed, innovation, and complexity, and that will continue. And it's very difficult to stop. What needs to happen is you need to make sure that the people who are in place to regulate, to control, they have to move with the same degree of speed, complexity, and innovation. And if they don't, then you have a problem. The latent difference between how the market is changing and adapting and how the control functions are keeping pace. The difference between the two, for me, is where the risk exists. And over the last 20 years, I think it's got closer, but it's still not close enough, and that's why there is still this element of exposure that can be quite dangerous.
And what can be done to promote derivatives and their correct use?
Well, it comes down to regulation and making sure that you have risk intelligent organisations, and you have risk intelligent people, and that comes through education and schooling them in the best possible way so that they make the right decisions at the right time. That's what you need. I mean, people. I think the problem sometimes with financial markets is that people become too comfortable within the roles that they have. They don't challenge, they don't ask questions, they don't rock the boat, and sometimes they get stuck in the roles that they're doing. They'd like to move, or they'd like to ask some of those questions, but they're getting a good salary and they prefer to sit there and be quiet, and that's not good. You need organisations that communicate well, that people feel able and free to communicate any concerns that they have about what's going on within either the market or within the organisation, and that's culture and conduct that need to change.
Okay, thank you for that. Well, and finally, what do you think about the movie Rogue Trader? Do you think it reflects reality?
I've only seen the movie a couple of times, to be honest. So the movie was made from the book that I wrote. So it does largely follow what happens, but because the subject matter is perceived to be complex. There was a certain amount of dumbing down of how things were explained. I think some of the people were made to look more silly than they were, or more stupid than they really were. But again, they were stupid, and they didn't ask the right questions, and they allowed a lot of stuff to happen that shouldn't have happened. So it's a story of incompetence and negligence, and mine is very much at the forefront of that, and I never tried to avoid that. It does encapsulate those two things.
Okay. What advice would you give to people that are starting business?
My advice is always simple. People shouldn't be scared of making mistakes, because people in all walks of life, whether it's finance or something else, you will make mistakes. But you shouldn't hide your mistakes. You should let people know what's happening. That's the first thing. I was 25 years old when I was running the futures and options operation in Singapore, and I thought I could cope with everything. And clearly, I displayed the fact that I couldn't. But there was a very simple thing that I didn't do, which I should have done, and that was ask for help. Because I was surrounded by people who could have helped me, that maybe had gone down the same path themselves before and made the right turn, and I didn't do that. And so I would encourage anybody, regardless of industry, always ask for help and advice, because there are people with the necessary knowledge and experience that give you the direction in the right way.
Yes.
So hello to Rankia, Mexico.